Welcome back to This Is Dunder Moose. I am your host. This Is Dunder Moose. This is 3 nights in a row. Sunday night, I had B-dubs. Monday night, we did Diplomacy by X, and we are keeping the party rocking. Tuesday night, we got Chubby Funster here. And I gotta say, man, I was wondering how this was gonna go. Like, it could have gone one of a few ways, but one of them was like, man, what if the Kickstarter launches and inexplicably it's struggling? And it's like up to us to like whomp up some enthusiasm and like get it over the final, like some kind of like Jerry Lewis telethon. Now that's really going to date me. People are like, who's Jerry Lewis? But no, we're not.
I know who he is.
Your Kickstarter is live. Shadow City. You've been on Who's Who of YouTube for D&D for the last week at least.
Yeah, I've got more coming up this week too.
Yeah, getting the word out. So just for the curious, how is the Kickstarter doing, man? Has it funded?
Yeah, we're over 200% funded right now. And
how long did it take for you to fund?
Yeah, it took 30 minutes to go. We're at 237 to 237% now.
Wow. And, so 30 minutes into it, and it was like, boom, done deal. Boom. This is absolutely going to happen. That's awesome. That has to feel great. Now, I've never done a Kickstarter, so I don't know. I got a feeling that you have, because you've got so many books. You're so prolific.
This is my first Kickstarter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, wow. It's been an experiment for me, because I know that there's a lot of people who are big advocates for it. But it does require a lot of marketing lift and doing work and stuff that I wasn't doing before. So for me, the question is like, will the trade-off be worth it for running it this way? And it's challenging, because it's a brand new thing. You always worry. I'm really not prone to anxiety, really not. But I had a few,
You strike me as a pretty laid back dude.
Yeah, normally I'm nonplussed, but there was a few times when I was just like, "Is this gonna work? I don't know," But
so for people that haven't done a Kickstarter before, what is the potential downside? Like, how much of a risk is this for you?
Yeah, so you have to hit whatever your funding level is, or it doesn't take any money. So like if you had a $10,000 ask and you only got $5,000, those orders just kind of get deleted, and there's no credit card charges on anybody. It's just wiped out.
It's just all for nothing, really. You just a bunch of work on your part, and then it's just
and
you might as well not have done anything.
If you want to be depressed, go on to Kickstarter like search system and just look at there are a lot of projects that do not get funded.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people out there that have been offering tips for people in the role-playing game community. And there's like Eric Tenkar has had a blog for a long time. And Rob Alderman, who did Gods of the Forbidden North, he had a comment that he put on his Kickstarter that is public, and it has all of his tips on how to do it. And so I ran in, just doing it as kind of a exercise in whether it's a good idea for me. And this product, to answer Driving and Dragons question in the chat, like I really don't have a funding goal in an abstract sense. The book is written, it's ready to go. I have copies of it. I could have just turned it on drive-through and just been like, we're good. The downside of doing that is that Kickstarter taps you into a much wider analytics, search engine. What's the term for all the kind of making sure that your stuff is being picked up by algorithm stuff? So it taps into all that
type stuff, search engine optimization, and
optimization. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and for those that are driving or maybe doing spreadsheets or whatever and can't spare an eyeball for the screen, I'm just going to go ahead and read Driving and Dragon's question out. He says, so does 237 actually fund the project? It's common to set a 5K goal for a 10K project. So yeah. I think what you're asking there is like, do you set a low bar initially so you can get those kind of like funded in 30 minutes things?
That's exactly the strategy that I use.
Okay.
Because I don't know any
other that I need. So like, fascinating to me.
If you were printing, let's say offset printing, because this is fulfilled through drive-through, so it's POD. Okay. But if you were doing offset printing, you would kind of have like a minimum order in order to get the price that you want for printing that many books.
Yeah.
So that would be what drives your funding level.
Because I've talked to Griff, and he does books. He had one that Kuntz put out. It was a module set in first edition. Mm-hmm. And so talking to him, because I was giving him I was like ribbing him a little bit, and I was like, man, you really come down hard on the bros. The BROSR is probably like your biggest fan. I don't know anybody who has watched your movie over and over like them. And he's like, aren't those just a few people? Like, isn't it like 20 or so dudes? And he's like, I need to sell way more copies than that. So yeah. That's a whole different discussion. I'm not trying to get controversial or anything like that. I do think that for the size of the bros right now, I do feel like they have an outsized audience. But yeah, when you commit to those offset things, you need to have a big number to even not bankrupt yourself, right?
Yeah, because you don't want to be having to put the money in yourself if it doesn't make it, and then you have to warehouse the books.
Then you're just sitting on a ton of inventory that just every month is going to take up money and space and rent and is aging.
I didn't want to do that. Inventory. So the plan for this one is that it's all POD. Mm-hmm. And after the Kickstarter closes and everything gets processed and all the fulfillment goes out to everybody by email, because it'll be an email to the codes you need to get it through drive-through, right?
Yeah.
Then after everybody's gotten that stuff, it will eventually become a product on drive-through, but for a higher price. So the benefit of going in with the Kickstarter is that you're going to save money.
You get the early adopter pricing. Yeah. You get it before anyone else.
Yeah. Now, my long-term goal is, if Kickstarter is a viable solution, is to have an offset print run of some good books, like with ribbons and nice paper and everything like that. And then once that gets fulfilled and done, eventually it also goes to drive-through as a POD, so that I don't have to be printing and warehousing books.
Yeah.
And taking care of that stuff. Now, eventually, if I got big enough that would be a viable thing, I might change that strategy. But for right now, that is.
I think everyone's got like long-term visions of the Poplar slip case X Imperial Edition premium.
Well, I wonder about things like that, because I know it's a fantastic physical object, right? Yeah. Like, I get it. But my question is, like, you do, considering the nature of the hobby, you do have kind of an upper bound of what you could potentially, the number of people you could potentially sell this thing to. And if selling them a product at that quality level isn't bringing it, like, sometimes you end up making less money by doing that, because you're trying to keep the price competitive. And so you're adjusting your part of it down a little bit. And,
well, I think he's got the PODs as well, which makes the premium one kind of a collector's edition. I recently, speaking of X, I'm on a mega dungeon kick for some reason, and I wanted a copy of De Wimmermount, and that is a hard book to find.
I have the PDF, but I don't have hardcover. Yeah.
And I found one on my usual thing is oh shoot, I just forgot the name. It's not
Lulu, is it?
Noble Knight is like my second choice.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
My first one is Wayne's Books.
Okay.
Like that's I go to Wayne's Books. I'm like, what do they have? You know, if it's the one I'm looking for, they didn't have it, but Noble Knight had. They got it. You know, it was on my list of like, when you have this in, let me know. And I paid a lot. I paid a lot of money for that one book just because I've been waiting to have it. So,
well,
so there is that kind of strike while it's hot kind of FOMO thing. Like, I want the good version before all I can get is the PDF, right? So, interesting. You know what? We're talking about the sausage, and that's not what you're here to talk about. You've talked about this kind of stuff all week with everybody. What was it that made you think, you know, I need to reach out, of all people, to Dunder Moose and come on his channel?
Well, I watch quite a bit of Dunder Moose. It's very entertaining. It's a strong recommend. But there was an episode a couple weeks ago, and I don't even remember what you said, but I turned it off. And a lot of times, like the last hour before I go to bed, I'm sitting here just kind of doing some stuff. And like I'd been watching you, and it went off, and I was just sitting here up. Maybe I was playing video game or something, and it occurred to me that all of the stuff in Shadow City could be applied to a BrawnSteen type situation where it's player versus player.
Yeah.
And all the assumptions when I was writing the book were that it would be run as a conventional game, right?
Yeah.
That you would have a GM who's kind of running all the opposition, and the players are working together.
The players are a get-along gang trying to get the ruby.
That's right. Yeah.
And yet you got one dose of Dunder Moose, and
one dose.
Vistas started to open. Horizons, fractal patterns spun out. I'm just kidding. Of course, I'm being overly dramatic, but it occurred to you like, hey, because like you don't just have like prepackaged adventures and here's what you do. Like the thing that I was very interested in was the way that you build the city out. And
that was what I was about to say. Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Generating the
you put in there,
the
it's not like
one
setting. You're like, here's how you make your own city come alive. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I can actually screen share this page. I was just pulling it up.
And if you go to the Kickstarter, you go into a little bit of this in the little preview film that's on the first
in the
page.
video. Yeah.
All right, so let me get this on here, and I can even make us tiny or get us out of the way.
There we go. So the city is built using a random system where you roll 10 d20s. You can make it a smaller city. You can make it a bigger city by changing that number. But when you roll the d20s on the page, I wanted to make it so that you could just like drawing a dungeon on graph paper. Like you could do it with just a piece of paper. You don't need to have a fantastic level of graphics ability. So this city is easy to draw. You could a 10-year-old could draw this city.
So now with the animation, it looked like the dice kind of scatter across the page. Is it like a drop map?
My video developer made that work that way. I gave him all the assets. But yeah, so it is a drop map. So you roll the dice onto your hex paper, and then you just draw districts around those dice results. So you want to get about 6 to 8 hexes for each neighborhood. And then the number on the die. So like this is a 14, so that's a historic district.
Okay.
Right? So every district gets made that way. And then you can give it your own name, or you can give there's a random name generator here. So you can name them all. So the historic district got named Bitter Green. Right.
Nice.
So then you roll a d4 for each neighborhood to create points of interest. And then you roll that many points of interest off of these tables. Right. So you end up with getting something that looks like this. And
how long? Like this seems a really fast way to generate a lot of map.
Exactly. That's I think the way that every game is going to be different. Every time you make a city, it's going to come out different. Yeah, I mean, it'll be really, you get a lot of replayability there, and you could make a city like this and then give different neighborhoods to different players and run it like a BrawnSteen. That was my thought when I was watching that, after I watched that video of yours. You know.
Go back one if you would, or maybe two to the dice. I'm interested. So let's say you see I've got a 17 and a 1 there on the screen. If those had both been 17s or 1, would you have just drawn a big, like, would you merge them into one? Like, if they're the same neighborhood type?
You could merge them into one district, or you could have a city with, you know, 2 of kind of the same thing. So like a 1 is an ethnic enclave. So that could be like Chinatown or Little Italy or something like that. So
okay.
you could have a Little Italy and a Chinatown or some other, you know, Little Korea or whatever city you want to try to emulate a little bit. You could add those in. You could put in, you know, you could have a neighborhood where all the Australian people moved here and it's in California or something.
Or if you had two university neighborhoods, you know, you could either make one of them the community college and one of them the state, or you could make them like rivals. So like, you know, there's a chance if they're going to battle each other on the football field that there may be there's going to be a lot more traffic in the street. So if you're playing an heist or something, like, oh, be careful that night.
There are like, I think 4 universities within Metro Atlanta. So you could definitely have multiple universities.
Got it. All right. There's some questions in the chat. I don't want to get too far beyond when we answer. Cool. Noel's Eye says, looks awesome. How does the humanity system work if there is one? I'm not sure what a humanity system is.
Okay. All right. So there is a humanity system. Oh, sorry. I stopped sharing and we.
Oh, no worries. Let me get our faces back on.
Okay. So the humanity in. Let me start with how it works in Vampire the Masquerade, because it's really different. And one of the things that my first hater posted on Facebook against me today was that I copied something from Vampire the Masquerade. So I want to address that. All right.
Congratulations on your first hater, by the way.
I love them.
I remember my first hater well.
So in Vampire, humanity represents the degree to which you are still like a thinking person with feelings and emotions, and you're connected to the human world. And as the number drops, you become more monstrous. And usually the drops, there are a few ways to drop, but usually the way that you drop is by committing bad acts. So if you go murder an innocent person, then you'll be dropping down the scale. Okay.
This is a horrible example, and I don't even know if I want to put it out there, but it reminds me of the comedy film What We Do in the Shadows.
I haven't seen that.
Maybe wait till the Kickstarter is over. It's a comedy. It's Taika Waititi, and it's a group of vampires living in a flat in New Zealand, and there's like 3 of them that live in the apartment, and there's a 4th one who's in the basement, and he's like he's really old. He's like your typical Nosferatu, like in the crypt with the long, candy corn teeth. And like he's the one I thought of when you said your humanity drops. Like the rest, the other guys upstairs could pass, right? Like they got to go out at night, but they've got like, modern problems and stuff. And then there's the guy in the basement that's who just pretty much become a thing. Like they all love him. They think he's great, but he's just a thing. So that's what it made me think of.
Okay, so in Shadow City, there is still
Driving in Dragons has seen it. Vladislav the Poker. they get a dude and he sets them all up with Facebook pages, and he's like, the guy's like, oh, you've got your first friend. He's like, do you want to poke them? And he's like, well, yes. Sorry. Forget I talked about the poke.
So you have a sliding scale still, but it goes over the 0 rather than being like a 1 to 10.
Okay.
So you have a +3 is the maximum you can have, and it goes down to -7. If your character drops below -7, you become an NPC. You're just too bad. But it serves as a double-edged sword in the game mechanics. So it's a positive modifier to reaction rolls. So if you're a good person still, you get a positive reaction check. So if you had a +3, you would be getting a +3 on every reaction check, which is big time.
Yeah.
And
which you need to like talk people into letting you into their into their apartment. Can I come in? Oh, he seems nice. Come on in.
So as you go past 0, you get negative reaction modifier, right? So if you're at -4, you're getting a -4 reaction penalty, which is catastrophic, as you know from playing D&D, right? Like it's really bad. But the inverse of your humanity is added as an attack bonus every attack. So if you're at +3, you're getting a -3 to every attack. And if you're at -4 humanity, you're getting a +4 to every attack, which is also huge.
So a heal vampire coming across a face vampire, the heal will tear him up because he's just got such a bonus for how
he will destroy him.
How just anti-human, how animal he's become.
Yeah. And here, what I'm about to say would be super important in a BrawnSteen, but less so in a regular game, is that you have individuals in the city that are your touchstones, which are the people you're still connected to, people you admire, you know, the old woman that you're making sure nobody robs, and the kid that you want to see get into college, and that kind of thing, right? And if anything happens to them, you lose humanity points. So in a BrawnSteen, those touchstones then become targets for all the other players. If you can figure out
somebody's touchstone, you're like, I can push him over into being an absolute bestial dog creature.
And so you would have an incentive to try to hide your touchstones from everybody, and everybody would be trying to figure out who they might follow you, try to find out where you're going and see where your touchstones are, stuff like that. So those are the kind of things, like when I wrote the way that touchstones work, I never thought about it in a PvP sense. It was always in like, you know, the GM might occasionally, if you do something stupid, go after your touchstone. But you do look a little bit like Mario.
All right, I got to throw that one up there. Wayland Occult says, Dunder Moose with this hat for some reason makes him look like Mario. It's me. I'm in Little Italy from the earlier map.
Oh, I just saw that comment from Bradford. That is what I'm trying to sell it. It's vampire for people who want to play it like D&D.
Yeah, so this is vampire, but for people that want to play D&D and you're golden. And all of that was just from Nullsey's question about the humanity system. So thanks for that question. That was a good one. And forgive me if I'm butchering the way you pronounce your name. Bradford also asks, do you have any digital tools for this?
In terms of like a character generation thing and so on, I am going to be developing a website over the next couple months, and have one that works the way that, if anybody's familiar with ShadowDark, there's a ShadowDarkling's website where you just press a button and you get a character.
It's like a random generator.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm going to be working towards that. I'm just not very web skilled. And I've focused my stuff on other things, you know.
Well, when all that Kickstarter money rolls in, maybe you'll be able to hire somebody.
I have the money to do it right now.
Bradford says City Generator is a killer app by itself, and Michael Whalen also agrees. Says, yeah, it is. I would buy that alone. And I knew it wasn't gonna be too long before Fluid the Druid piped in, because this does remind me of. Because we did run a BrawnSteen in Gangbusters, and if you've played that game, it has a map and it has the districts and all that kind of stuff. He says, does it outline voting districts?
To that level of detail.
Yeah. All right, because his said, does it outline voting districts and city councils? If so, overlapped with multiple ethnic regions like Lakefront City and Gangbusters. That might be. That might be a little detailed for what you're trying to create here, but
you could make that as like, you know, a supplemental thing that we, you know, add on later. But
or you could like blend them.
I've had
like
people
use the Gangbusters, you know, map, but then apply it to the one you rolled up with this tool. Something.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. And I've had people ask me to do like a Red Dead Redemption version of this, where the neighborhoods are the regions in Red Dead. So like the tall trees is like Colorado, and you could have all the different they could have a place that's like Louisiana, and a place that's like Kansas, and a place that's like Arizona, and so on, and then roll it all up so that it would be like a Red Dead map. But I'm still getting through the first leg of this journey. But
right on, man.
Yeah, that's definitely gonna be something cool.
Alexander Williams talking about the humanity. He's like, well, speed running to -7 is my new goal.
It would be pretty incredible at -7 if you get into any combat. You will just be you'll be like Neo in the Matrix or something. Like you're just like shooting everybody in the room, perfect accuracy.
You'd be like Vampire Hunter D, right? Yeah. Like you get wounded and your hand just starts eating dirt and you heal yourself back up.
I saw this question about higher level abstract interaction.
Yeah, Alexander Williams asked, is there a higher level abstract interaction space where you as a faction leader can make influence conflict moves at a scale larger than a single character? I think that's kind of getting at the heart of where we're starting to think with this BRONSTEINification.
Yeah. I don't have anything written like that because, like I said, the book was finished when I realized that this was a possible application. But there is a faction system in the game, and if you're familiar with ShadowDark, it works as a shared talent. So there's like in the opponent section, there's a police officer, right? And he's like, I think level 2 monster, basically, right? Yeah. And you could create the FBI and have that be like a talent that gives them better shooting, more hit points, all kinds of stuff. And then just say everybody that's in the FBI has this talent, but otherwise you could use the police officer as the base and then just elevate them with that talent. Yeah, so you can do that for any human organization that you want, so that you can make in Vampire the Masquerade, there's a vampire hunter group called the Society of Leopold. So like you could make a Society of Leopold that has some kind of anti-vampire talent that everybody who joins and gets the training gains that ability. Yeah. And then if the difference for when it's a vampire organization is that it becomes hereditary through the blood. So if you form a clan and your special power gives you, let's just make it simple, like +3 to attack, whatever, right? And so you work that out with the GM, you come up with whatever you need to form this clan, you make the clan. In the game, there's like a way of doing that, right? And then every vampire you create downline from you gains that talent as well because they're part of your blood. So if you start making, basically lieutenants that are going to help you that are downstream, they will benefit from the bonus that you've set up. And then when they make people downstream, those people will benefit. So you could have, if you're running it, with beforehand, you could have every player make their own clan with a particular thing, and then they would start the game with however many subordinates, and then people under that. There's like in Vampire the Masquerade, there is a concept for ghouls where you feed a human the vampire blood, and it lets them be like a boosted human. Yeah. But they have to keep coming back to you on a regular basis to get that blood. So that creates people that can go out in the daytime and do stuff for you and all that kind of thing. I think that would work great in a BRONSTEIN setting. You could have agents you're creating in this way, and then giving them downtime tasks to go complete on your behalf while you're asleep. And
well, and that might be the BRONSTEIN, is like you're not playing the actual vampires. You are playing the vassals that are trying to accomplish things for them, right? Like in Jay Letourneau's Steins, the first one, I played a character he was a master of disguise, and he's actually a very dangerous assassin. but he is the Primarch of, I think it's the Green Dragon. And there's like five chromatic dragons that are like pretty much battling to own this world. And so there are different powered beings that are like totally beholden to the dragons. And we're not playing as the dragons. We're playing by the guys that's where our contextual goals come from, is what, like, so I'd be like, whatever, whichever strain of vampire has turned to me has said, all right, you can go out in the day. This city block is our territory, and I need you to encroach on the other one, but make it look like these guys did it, or whatever the goals are. So what do you need for a good BrawnSteen, right? Well, the first thing you need a place for it to take place. And I think that what you're talking about is kind of tailor-made for this, where you can roll up your own city and have little points of interest within it, where certain places can be strongholds for certain factions.
Let me interject real quick.
Go ahead.
You control the points of interest. You collect like a blood tax.
Okay.
For free. So it's a territory control would be very. So if you had a neighborhood with 3 points of interest and you control all 3, you get 3 free blood points every night.
Yeah. So, and that's like free. That's free money that you don't have to risk yourself. You don't have to risk exposing yourself to get. It's just like someone else has to go get this for me. Because that's like, I think that's like the most scary thing about being a vampire is like, I have this need, but if I get caught doing what I need to do, then the pitchforks and the torches come out, right?
Yes.
So you need. Let me just catch up with the chat here.
Yeah, okay.
Alexander Williams says, "I'll just be over here waiting for the Mage expansion so I can write another Iteration X book." Not sure what that's referencing. I'm not a vampire guy. If I were Black Lodge games, I'd be like, "Oh, I know what that means."
There's vampires, werewolves, mages, fairies. They all have like their own separate book lines.
Got it.
So Alexander's saying he's going to wait for me to release my next book, which would assumedly be where you could play as a mage in this same city. Yeah.
Bradford Walker says, I get that reference. Noel's Eye says, I had that thought too. If you get taken out for a while or in a torpor for a long time, playing as a minion could be fun. So yeah, you need a place. And it sounds like you have a way not only to generate a realistic city in a short amount of time, which that too, a guy running one of these BrawnSteen games has got a lot of plate spinning. And like the more that you can take off of that cognitive load, the better. So I love the system just for generating a city. And I'm almost like, man, get this thing. It doesn't even need to be for current day vampire stuff. Like you could use these tables for whatever setting you like, sci-fi, fantasy, that kind of thing. It's just a great idea. I love that tool. The next thing you need is interesting competing factions, and they don't need to be balanced. You can have strong ones and weak ones. That can be part of the interesting thing about playing the cards you're dealt. But the other part of what I've seen from this book is it looks like you don't just have like vampires and non-vampires. You have like different strains and different impacts and stuff. And so like from there, you can start getting the alignments where you might say, well, these ghouls are going to be aligned with the ones from this guy. And these ones seem to be, but they're working an angle. All the BrawnSteen-y goodness that you like mix up where you say, we got a place, we've got factions with interesting characters that have strong reasons to be active in this area at the same time. And then you need a conflict resolution system for when it's not just how to host a murder, but for when two people go into another room and are like, all right, one of us isn't going back into the main room, right?
That's right. And it uses a modified version of the ShadowDark combat system, which is very much like basic D20 D&D resolution.
Yeah, I mean, it's ShadowDark, right?
Yeah, the advantage and disadvantage is really the only thing that's kind of breaking away from the classic D20 model.
How much ShadowDark is in this, and how much Vampire is in it, and how much is its own thing?
Well, it is its own standalone game. There's different stats than in ShadowDark. ShadowDark uses strength, dex, constitution, etc.
The classics.
This one uses a different set that is more tailored towards what we're trying to do here. Awareness is separated out. So there's an awareness, there's a cognition, there's a magnetism, there's a quickness, there's a physique, and a willpower.
Okay.
And so instead of having ranged attack and defense on the same stat with Dex, the awareness has the ranged attack, and then quickness has the defensive capability. So I feel
that makes sense to me.
I feel like this set of attributes is more balanced than that's my number one criticism of the original D&D design for stats.
Yeah, well, because like you think about the thing that would make you good at hitting a shot from far away, whether it's a rifle or a bow or throwing, is like stillness and being able to, you pull it back to the exact same spot, like precision and stillness and being able to line it up. That is way different than a fast twitch motor response that gets you out of the way of trouble.
Exactly.
Like they're almost opposite if you think about it.
Yeah. So instead of having a race or ancestry system, there is a bloodline that you have, which is what you inherited from the guy who created you.
Okay.
So it has 2 advantages and 1 disadvantage, and the disadvantages can be pretty intense. So it makes each thing really a mixed blessing. And then the class system is what your vampire is doing with their life. So one of them is the expert. He's been focusing on skills with technology, right? So he might be a hacker, or he might have gone into medicine, or he might be a really great with plants or mechanics or whatever. It doesn't matter. And then you put those together and build out all of the kind of connections that you have. Yeah.
As I said, Nosferatu equals you are ugly as sin.
There is a monstrous one that you look, you can't really hide that you're a vampire.
It's the ancient right of you ain't got no alibi.
So that chassis right there is very, very different from ShadowDark. The resolution methods are very similar to ShadowDark. You're making an ability check. You're using advantage and disadvantage. You're using a scale of DCs from 9 to 18 to kind of represent the difficulty of a particular task.
And it's a D20 rollover.
Yeah, it's a D20 rollover. And so those kind of things are very similar.
And I think that's important because, one of the things we have to acknowledge, even people like myself who stand for 1E, most of your players are familiar with 5E. So going with a system that is like tailor-made to make an easy transition for them is it's a good play, right? Just for recruiting players, especially if they haven't done any of this stuff before.
I think of it as like, even if you have a veteran player who has a favorite system, they'll still be able to pick it up quickly. Whereas but I love Acts 2. I made no secret of that.
Yeah,
but I would not.
That was the first book of yours I bought, was Warlords of Gavardia, which is a setting for Acts 2.
Setting for Acts 2, yeah. But I would not go to a work function and try to teach people how to play Acts 2 in order to run, a team building exercise. I would use a ShadowDark or Alien or some kind of very light, easy to teach system.
Yeah.
So I think by using that basis, it allows you to reach a bigger audience, bring in people. Even if there's a guy who's like, I don't really want advantage and disadvantage, it's not like a horrible thing to endure. Whereas, if there's somebody who doesn't want to do all the math and calculations of Ars Magica, you're never going to get them to do that. Like, holy crap. Some systems are just really hard and complex to teach.
All right, I'm gonna throw the link back to.
Yeah, I see a comment there.
Oh, Benjathan, the one that I'm referring to is called Warlords of Gavardia. I think I spelled that right.
Yeah, Warlords, but
Oh my gosh. How embarrassing. I had a bad bowel movement on camera.
So yeah, that's on drive-through.
Warlords of Gavardia.
Yeah, warlords. But yeah, I think by having that, you can teach people, bring it in easy. But one thing that you made me think of earlier when you were talking about being a GM of a BrawnSteen is a lot of what I talked about when I was on Black Lodge was about that the focus of the tables and the systems and the back end, the GM sections and the latter chapters of the book are all about lifting that weight off the GM. So it's very, very easy to innovate whatever you need right on the spot and pull it up.
And I love that because I think one of the things that really shortens the average campaign is an overloaded GM that they prep and they prep and they prep. And then they try to run the session and the players don't want to do anything that they got ready for. Right. And then they've got to try and I was on Young Yan Zhao's show and I was talking about like the benefit of zero prep is not that you have to always run it, but that like you do it long enough to get good at it. And then you don't ever have to fear chasing player passion past what you prepared because you know you can follow them where they want to go and be pulling the stuff out as it happens. And I think tables, I never got it when I was, in a different mindset. When I was playing conventional style, I thought, oh, boring tables. Why are you outsourcing all the fun? I didn't get it. I see it now. I've grown and I realize, man, the tables can really set you free to not only take care of some of the detailed stuff that you may not want to create, but also some of those reactions from the different tables will hook together in your brain and make you come up with something you hadn't thought of before either. So I'm a big fan of that stuff now. There is a question I want to address. An aid worker loading water. Man, these names are getting longer and longer. An aid worker loading water says, apologize if I already said, but why play this instead of VTM? And I will say one thing was already said that may answer the question, aid worker, is it's like D&D. It's like the D&D of VTM or the VTM of ED. But I'll let Chubby answer it better.
Yeah. So the pitch that I've been working on is that it's making Vampire into an OSR setting. So you right now, if you wanted to play Vampire, there's no OSR system that really opens to it very well, and it brings in all of these kind of things from the storyteller system that are very different from the way that we play, and I don't like that. So I've designed this so that you can play in this setting, and it feels like you're playing D&D. A lot of it is, and we kind of haven't gotten to this yet, but a lot of it is site exploration. All of those points of interest that we created on the map can get built out into node maps that you can explore like a dungeon. So you are always dealing with the reality of the physical space rather than turning it into a political conflict or some kind of abstract interaction between people. Like it's very much a nitty-gritty on the ground. We have to clear these 3 rooms and get the stuff and get out of here.
See, I never played Vampire the Masquerade, so I don't know what the difference is. But I had unfair assumptions that I made in my youth about what the game must have been.
I heard about your kiss chicken concept. Yeah. Yes.
That's what I was thinking of. I was just picturing skinny goth kids just like getting in each other's face and whoever tries to kiss the other one first loses. But that's probably a horrible assumption. That's probably not what it happens. It looked like when Black Lodge Games was playing Mystara and they all got into their character and they were so intense and they were just like staring at each other. I was like, how long? But they both won Kiss Chicken. Neither one went for the smooch.
Well, I've run playtests with this. It does not play like that at all. It plays like D&D.
Sorry for those of you players who are looking forward to achieving your first kiss in a game, this may not be the thing that does it for you. This is getting ridiculous. What am I saying? Let's go to DM Blackwall. How long for fulfillment?
It's probably going to be about 1 or 2 hours from the time that I get the thing from Kickstarter saying this is how many people pledge this much money. It'll take me about 1 or 2 hours to figure out how to send all the emails out, and then it'll be done. There's it's all in email fulfillment because you're going to be getting codes to just get the stuff right off a drive-through. So
okay, so it's not going to be like 6 years later. I'm going to finally see the thing.
The game is written. It's sitting. I have proofs on my desk right now. It's done.
Alexander Scracker, he says, "No, son, busty goth chicks, my man. That's what we brought in." Alexander, is that some black lipstick on your collar that I'm detecting?
And
Aid Worker says, "I own more Chubby Funster stuff than WotC at this point."
That's wonderful to hear.
I didn't know how much stuff WotC owns of yours, but no, I'm just kidding. I know what you're saying. All right, so yeah, tell me what the different vampires are, and maybe we can brainstorm a BrawnSteen here and now live. Okay. And now, those of you who've played in them in the chat, help me out here. So we've got, let's say I rolled up my city. I've got my sector.
Character creation in my book here and just show you the classes. Okay. All right, so there we go. Well, it's not happy with that.
Benjathan says, "Oh God, you remind me of the disaster of the Dolmen World fulfillment stuff."
All right, so this is.
Says that is not my collar. It was your ascot, my good lad. Here, let me throw this up there.
This is the first class, Autark, and this is just the kind of classic, Transylvanian vampire, and you'll start with. All of these things here on the left page are built into your class. And then, like ShadowDark, you roll 2d6 to get a random discipline.
All right, and I'm seeing you got brass knuckles, a knife, a shotgun, and a submachine gun, which, so we're already into, like, some blade territory here. That's pretty sick.
That's right. And the disciplines are not all equal, right? So the 11s and 12s and 2s and 3s are very good and more powerful. So there is that random element with every level up. But even if you get a 7 every time, which is, the most common result on a 2d6, each class has some kind of talent discipline thing in the middle that you could keep adding a type every time you roll it again. Okay. So if you get occultist and you roll, let's say other vampires, you'll be rolling with advantage whenever you're fighting vampires, right? So even if you get this result multiple times, you'll still be really good. That will be a really good result.
Right on.
And then, like turning into mist is its own special thing. I've heard tales that certain characters played by Dunder Moose like to do crazy things and then run off into the darkness. Yeah. So using the ability to turn into mist would be very good for your sudden but inevitable betrayals.
Yeah, so turning into mist is usually not good, but being able to turn back from mist is very, very good. If you could turn someone else into mist, then turn yourself into mist, and then when everybody leaves, you turn yourself back to not mist. That's awesome.
So that's the Autark, and then the Butcher is pure combat-driven character class. They can fence stolen property. They can get long claws. They can track people like a bloodhound. All their abilities are built on that. Like their result in the middle is getting bonus to damage. So if you rolled that multiple times, you'd be crushing people with melee or
you would be Jean-Claude Van Helsing.
Yeah. And then the third class is that expert that we talked about. They can do really cool. They can learn new weapons for a lot less experience points. They get a bonus to investigating everything at advantage. They can make improvised traps. They can spend a blood point to just learn how a technology works. They don't have to spend a lot of time figuring it out. They just kind of like focus their mind with the blood, and it works.
Yeah.
They can cover up dead bodies and make it look like they weren't killed by you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
and then all
really
of their
utilitarian.
Yeah.
These guys could really stymie an investigation. Yeah.
That's right. So all the disciplines are things that you might have a skill or expertise at, right? So the 7 result is an academic skill, which could be, if you learn finance, you could turn that to your advantage really quick, right? You could get to be a hacker. You could learn how to work with animals without them freaking out because you're a vampire. You can learn medicine, those kind of things. The luminary is like the social butterfly class.
Okay.
The advantages that they have is that they're very strong against humans. They can dazzle humans. They can control them. They can tell them what to do. But they can only use handgun or a knife. They're nowhere near as good of a fighter as anybody else. So
yeah,
this is kind of the person behind the scenes pushing some agenda, right? Every time they roll a 7, they get a different type of people that they make advantage magnetism checks to.
So this is the one where they're not fighting you, but you are going through waves of their followers.
That's right. That's right.
Way more dangerous depending on the situation.
That's right. And then medium is somebody who can has an information advantage as a character. Okay. So they can like project their mind out and see what's going on at a different location. They can use ventriloquism. They can see incorporeal undead. And a lot of their disciplines connect with undead or seeing things that you're not normally able to see. Right. So every time they get a 7, they can see a different kind of aura around people. So like you can tell when somebody is angry, or you can tell with whatever. It's not in Vampire the Masquerade, it was like you could either have the ability or not, and then you could see all of the auras at once, which never made sense to me. I would rather it be like you have a thing that you're picking up on.
Yeah.
You're really tuned into bitterness, and when you see somebody that's bitter, you notice them.
So this is one of those things where, straight up playing with a DM, that would be powerful. In a BrawnSteen, you would really be dependent upon elite players. Meaning, like, let's say that I'm interacting with a medium and they would tell me, hey, I've got the ability to see your aura. What do I see? I'm going to be tempted to try to hide something. But if I'm a good BrawnSteen player, I'll realize this is part of the game. This is a rule. And I can tell them, okay, even though I'm smiling and I'm acting like I'm totally at ease, the aura you're getting off this character is that I am completely terrified, and like, so it's one of those things that I think is very powerful, maybe for the game that you designed it for, but it could be abused by a player who really just wants to win and doesn't want to play the game. So that might be like a conversation you have to have with players ahead of time and say, hey, if you come across a medium class and they pull this on you, you're going to be graded based on how you respond to their use of this power. And if you like just act like it doesn't work, then you're not getting an excellent rating at the end of the BROSR. Whatever, just like do something to incentivize people making the world and the story more important than their individual character.
That makes sense. And there would be things like Mind Reader where they would have to tell you what they were thinking.
Yeah. And I think I've shared before, but we've got some new folk in the chat that aren't Dunder Moose regulars, or at least that if you have been, you've been lurking, and I haven't seen you in the chat. I was playing in a Traveler BrawnSteen, and I was with the law enforcement trying to break up this drug ring, but I had also been left alone with some of the prisoners, and they had tried to save their lives. And so I was like playing both ends, and I did not know which one I was going to go with, because the bad guys had a ship and they could get me off the planet, right?
Yep.
And so I talked to the cops into stealing some evidence from an evidence locker, because the criminals needed it back. And I said, if we can get this to them, then I can get you the dirt on where they're planning to send it. And when I got there, they said, we want to test you. We want to dose you with truth serum. And so they did. And so in my mind, I'm like, oh, shoot. And they asked me, can we trust you? And I had to have a moment. And then I was like, I don't know. I'm playing both sides against the middle, and I haven't decided yet. And the thing about truth serum is you get like 2 minutes to ask questions, and then the person goes unconscious. And so like they were like, well, he didn't tell us. So they just made sure I never woke up. So it's like I lost the BRONSTEIN. I lost the game, but like it was so personally satisfying that I got to play that character and get in trouble and have that moment. And then everyone was like, what happened to Dunder Moose's guy? Where is he? You know, so these kind of things are not impossible in a BRONSTEIN, but you need to have the right sort of player that really is more interested in what happens when you follow all the rules than someone that would just like purposefully withhold information just because it's devastating to their game, right?
Yep. And just to finish it up, the Shadow is a stealth character, right? So it can control the shapes of the shadows. It can make no sound. You can't pick up its aura. Yeah. So it's just the opposite of a medium. You know, like the medium can't find this person. Yeah.
Yeah. They like totally nullify that power.
So every aspect of, you know, the character's design, it would be leaning against each other. So, you know, if you were the character who was a shadow and you were controlling a neighborhood, the medium would be not very effective against you. But you also don't have that great of combat ability. So if a butcher comes in, they'll just slaughter you, right? So
yeah,
you might work with the medium against the butcher. Yeah, like it's not you know, perfect one-to-one balancing off each other, but they are all opposed to each other in some way, and like a rock paper scissors effect.
So are these classes indicative of the lineages you're talking about, or can any vampire have any class? It's just like that's determined when you turn.
Any vampire could have those classes.
Okay.
And the lineages are let me just pull it back up.
Those are just more like hereditary bonuses that you get above and beyond.
So yeah, I got it back. So this is the bloodline. So there's a bestial one, which is like more animalistic. There's a foreign one, which has kind of like a secret place in the, or not secret place, a place in the town where they can go and just blend in.
Yeah.
And they get a reaction check bonus, but if they're outside of their area, they tend to be noticed more because they don't fit in. There's a lunatic, which can't remember the things very much about their life, so they have reduced touchstones. There's a monstrous one. They take a lot of damage from sunlight and fire because they're like more of the Nosferatu type.
Yeah.
The Radiant is kind of the opposite of the Nosferatu type. Yeah, like it's more human. And then the Vagrant,
the aristocratic ones.
Yeah,
right?
the Vagrant is one that's easier to travel around. So if they get caught out in the open during the day, like they could conceivably find a way to deal with that. Whereas if the monster gets caught at dawn, they're toast.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. There's been a lot of questions in the chat. Let me see if I can catch up with them. Let me get back up here. Nozai. Thanks for these questions, by the way, guys. Keep them coming. He says, is it too late to ask what a BrawnSteen is? I just came here from Dungeons and Dyslexia stream. Well, first of all, great place to be coming from. That guy's amazing. So let me try and give you the nutshell. The actual term BROWNSTEIN is referencing a very specific game created by David Wesley that is the precursor to Dungeons and Dragons and role-playing games as we know them. I should say it was the precursor to Blackmore, which once Arneson showed Gary how to play it, they created Dungeons and Dragons from. So it was the first time that you went from a wargamer control. Well, I don't know if it was the first time, but it was a very impactful time where you went from a wargamer controlling a faction or a bunch of troops to a single person. And it was, I think the combat resolution was just you had to go ask Dave and he would tell you what would happen. He might flip a coin or roll a dice or do something on a sheet of paper. But everybody was playing one person in a setting, and they were supposed to go in one by one and, tell him where they were and what they were doing. And he was going to keep track of all of it. But it like quickly outpaced him, and they all were making deals in the back room and got out of hand. So when you say BROWNSTEIN, that is one game. It's set in Prussia. You play the same game every time. And he actually runs these at cons. If you go to DaveCon or if you go to ArnieCon, you'll get to play it. If he's still able to run it, you'll be playing it with Wesley himself. When you hear bros and people talking about BrawnSteens, which is a different way to pronounce it, and I spell it differently, or you could hear, it could be like Jacob Huck is in the chat. He ran a Star Trek Steen, so you could call it Trekstein. Originally, we were calling what we did BROWNSTEINs, because we thought it was honoring to Wesley to say, hey, we didn't make this stuff up. We are pulling this play style back out and applying it to our ongoing campaigns. And we thought he was going to be, we wanted to make sure that people knew that we were honoring the source. Turns out he ain't exactly pleased with that. He ain't exactly honored. He would like to keep BROWNSTEIN to himself. Thank you very much. So that's why I mispronounce it. And that's why I spell it different, or I say a BROWNSTEIN like, or an X-Steen, because I don't want to make that guy angry, because I love what he made, and he's a good guy.
So this could be a VAMPSTEIN. Yeah.
Yeah, VAMPSTEIN. VAMPSTEIN when. But the short answer to the question is, it is independent characters operating in conflict under a fog of war. So what the bros have been doing with this is most D&D and most role-playing games, you have a small band of a plucky found family that goes on adventures together, and it's cooperative, and it's all of them against the DM, and the DM represents the opposition in the world, and they try to work together to get the ruby. And they have been sometimes diminutively referred to as the get-along gang. And a BROWNSTEIN is the opposite of that. It is, well, it's not just straight up PvP where you're trying to kill each other, but it's more like a game of Survivor, where you've got a ton of people. You don't know what everyone's goals are. You don't know what they're trying to achieve, but you're in the same place, and you're kind of huddled towards each other, and you have to make alliances, and sometimes you have to betray them, but you've got things that you're trying to get out of the situation, and they've got things they're trying to get out of the situation. Think of it as how to host a murder, but you can kill each other. Kind of like that. And so, like, you can do a light touch on the combat resolution. You can do a light touch on who's actually where, and you can allow people to communicate in a more free-flowing way. And the DM really becomes more of a referee, because there's going to come a time when the BROWNSTEIN gets out of his control, and he may not know everything that's going on. And there can even be like player versus player, where if the rules are agreed to, they can run the combat for themselves and then tell the DM what happened after the fact, right? So it's very fascinating. It's very fun, and it can be fun on its own, but it can also be a way to revitalize. If your campaign feels like the air is starting to come out of it, right? Like your characters have become powerful and they've kind of flattened all the opposition in the area. Instead of just coming up with bigger and bigger monsters, the DM can say, all right, we're putting the player characters away for a night. All of these powerful NPCs that you've been negotiating with and dealing with, you're going to be this one, you're going to be that one, you're going to be the other one. And here's what you guys are trying to decide. And it's a way to like flip the table on the whole scenario. Everyone gets involved. Everyone plays. Some people win, some people lose. And then at the end of the night, your campaign can pick up in a completely revolutionized state where you go back to session play, but like the whole world is different, but everyone's invested because they got to play out the high level stuff that's going on. I don't want to, I feel like I could gush all night about this. I hopefully that answered, at least partly answered your question about what is a BRONSTEIN.
Yeah.
So, okay. So let me catch up because I feel like there's probably a lot of chat trying to answer the question too. But
yeah, there were a lot of people trying to answer his question.
Multiple independent actors operating under conflict in a fog of war. So you don't know everything and you don't know what other people are doing. It's when you stop playing the DM and start playing each other, and that's what's fascinating about it. And yeah, if you go back and watch old episodes on my channel, there's like my channel pretty much breaks into 3 different type of videos, right? I've got interviews, I've got after action reports of actual BRONSTEINs that have been run, and then I've got like these products are coming out, a Kickstarter's coming out. There's a different, you know, drive-through RPG product or a game that I got a chance to play and I'm bringing to you guys. So like those are the 3 Dunder Moose videos. And I feel like we talk about BRONSTEINs in all of them. So maybe, I guess you could just like spin the wheel and start watching and you'll probably see more of it. But there was a question about how do you play it online? Again, watch some of the old videos, especially any of the ones with Jacob Letourneau or BrawnSteen recently. They do it in a Discord where they have a bunch of voice channels and the different voice channels are different rooms. And so whichever one you jump into, it represents your character going to that quarter of the city or going to that room on the spaceship or, you know, whatever. And so you can see where people are and you can move around between and talk to each other. And yeah, that kind of thing. So there was a question.
Waylon had a question about.
Yeah, he says, just out of curiosity, and I probably know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask anyway, is it possible to run a BRONSTEIN with only 2 players, not including the referee? And Jay Letourneau had, oh, was it Jay or was it Joshua? I'm starting to get them mixed up. I think it was Jay. He had Venn diagrams, like circles. And he said, it's best to have odd numbers so people can gang up on each other and there's always somebody left out. And if you have 5, that's a sweet spot because all the circles can interact in ways that people can start having cross purposes to each other. You can have groups of 3 versus 2, you know, that kind of thing. So he said 5, 7, and then there's been some with like, you know, 15. So
I'm not an expert on this, but I am a big fan of the diplomacy board game.
Yeah.
So I would say by having a certain number of players, it makes it possible to betray more tempting, and it's a lot harder to enforce defection on your team.
Yeah.
Things like that. Yeah. The more players you have, the more complex the politics gets real fast.
The basic the joy of it is the prisoner's dilemma, and you can't win unless you trust someone, but you don't know how long you can trust them or how long they can trust you, right? And so the longer you stick together, the more you win as a team, but the last one to betray loses. Right? So it just brings in these interesting moments where you have to decide, oh, what am I gonna do? And I think that's the drama that comes out of it. And it's not something that comes from a module, and it's not something that even comes from the DM. It comes from these weird, crazy situations that start to develop as people take on a role and become outrageous in the role, and then you either have to go after them or they'll come after you. So enough about that. Hey, my ear trumpet has been struck by lightning. Thanks for the $1. I appreciate you, man. You always come on. You give me support. It makes me feel good. It keeps me going. Sometimes old Dunder wonders, how long can I do this kind of thing? But, man, I got the best chat. I got the best people showing up here. They're asking good questions. I get the best guests. So
very good chat tonight.
So, and Jacob says, VAMPSTEIN would probably be several opposing clans of vampires with hopefully multiplayer players in each clan. And you might even find that you've got, you know, some like free agent vamps where it's like, well, we're going to need a shadow guy. And so, like, if they know what kind of vampire you are, if they know your class is the Shadow, they might try to recruit you and say, hey, look, I know we come from different clans, but these guys are being a problem, and they've got a medium, and they know what we're up to every single. We need you to get in there and get something for us, and they'll spot us a mile away. And he's be like, okay, well, what's in it for me? You know, like, well, we've got, you know, I don't know, are there magic items in the game, or what's the incentives? What kind of rewards do they offer each other
in the game? And they use a ShadowDark creation system for them, so you don't. It's not like a list of defined stuff like Rod of Might or whatever. You know, like
a propeller beanie of levitation.
They're created randomly every time, and they have all kinds. The typical one has a benefit and a curse. That, you know, the curse might make it not worth it every time. Like, you need to judge when you're going to use it. The curse might end up, you think it's a disadvantage, but in certain situations it's an advantage. Yeah, there's a lot of variability in that. And one thing I was thinking when you were talking earlier, a lot of people who aren't familiar with Vampire the Masquerade might not know about these two concepts. But well, one of them isn't even in Vampire now that I think about it. But Elysium is a concept in Vampire, that there's a place where you can go and you can have conversations with the expectation that there will be no violence.
Oh, okay.
And anybody who breaks that becomes outlaw against the whole vampire society. So there's a very, very strong restriction on violence. I added Tartarus as a different part of the city where you're allowed to do anything, and there's not even the normal protection.
It's like Tortuga.
Yeah.
Anything goes there.
Yeah. So the example I used was like, on the sample map, there's a biological preserve. So like, if you go out there, all over bright, you can do anything can happen out there. And
hey man, have you ever drank white rhino blood? It's the best.
Yeah, it could get crazy. But there's another thing that I think would add another dimension to it being a BrawnSteen, which is that the game has an apocalypse timer.
Ooh.
So it starts out at 0, and if it gets to 10, then the humans realize that vampires are a thing.
Okay.
And no longer believe they're just folklore. So there's a natural progression of 1 point every 5 years, and the game starts in 1981. So you will hit 10 no matter what in 2031.
Okay, and that's when it's open season on vampires.
It's open season because the technology is getting so good that you can't hide anymore, right? Mm-hmm. However, the thing that I think would be really cool from a BrawnSteen perspective is if you do anything that makes a sufficient number of humans like see what you did, the timer ticks up 1 for that. So if Dunder Moose just murders someone in the street using a clear vampire power, right? He turns into a giant bat and just rips this person apart. Well, unless Dunder goes around and kills everyone who saw that, then it starts to tick, and then it becomes an apocalypse point. So like the fact that happened and the news got out makes it so that so in a BrawnSteen perspective,
I'd want to lay low after turning into a bat and taking someone's head off.
If you did something like that, all the other players would want to kill you as soon as possible.
Like, what are you doing, man?
What are you doing?
You're making this harder for all of us.
Exactly.
It kind of reminds me of Horde Wars, like the moment when all the dice roll across the map and you realize the zombies have been alerted from all your fighting. I got a question from Waylon. He says, I asked earlier, so I'll ask one more time. Are there human hunters in this game for players to play? And if so, are there vampire hunter factions?
Yeah, the GM, or in a BrawnSteen situation, you could just have a player who runs them. But the GM can create a faction that would be the hunters. Mm-hmm. And they would have some kind of shared talent that would it doesn't have to be like a simple thing. It could be 5 or 6 bonuses from being a member of this organization. And then the player could run basically monster, because there are in the opposition chapter, there's like monster stats for all of the different types of humans. There's like a simple fanatic human. There's a criminal. There's an officer. There's a soldier. There's all these different archetypes of human that you could have, including an inquisitor, which is like the most powerful kind of vampire hunting human.
So is the Inquisitor like knows, like they haven't spilled the beans yet, but they know the vampires exist?
They know, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and they probably, you know, they aren't revealing things because they don't think people would believe them, or whatever. They think that they would.
Well, they might be just as afraid of the apocalypse because, like, you know, it's not just going to be open season on vampires, but you're talking about like a breakdown of society as everyone,
exactly,
you know, because it may be governments that have been helping to hide these things, and like that could be the end game for the world as we know it, right?
That's right. It could be like a particular list that nobody wants to release or investigate, something fictional like that.
Light says, I wasn't expecting an Inquisitor. Haha, nice setup. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. I love it.
So for Ear Trumpet there, Masquerade really does not apply in Tartarus.
All right, explain this question to me. Ear Trumpet has been struck by lightning with $2. Thanks again, bro. Asks, does the Masquerade apply to Tartarus? What is the Masquerade?
So the Masquerade is the term in Vampire the Masquerade, which is that you have to hide the fact that you're vampires, right? Mm-hmm. So in Shadow City, I don't use that term. Obviously, it's their term.
Yeah.
But I have a violations term, so that if you do something that clearly shows that you're a vampire, that creates a violation. And every day that you go, because you sleep during the day, so every morning when you go to bed, if you haven't eliminated everybody, then double the number of people will know by the time you wake back up.
Yeah.
So it just keeps.
So the Masquerade is kind of like what in the Mafia they would call the Omerta, the
Omerta,
the code that we do not break.
That's right.
Because it's for our own good. Even if we hate each other, we both are gonna make sure that neither one of us lets this. So in Tartarus, you can just vamp out in front of everyone, or no?
You can, because you're supposed to pick a part of the city where nobody will be and anybody who is there won't be believed, and it could be a place where it's just a bunch of homeless people. So if somebody says, I saw this thing, nobody believes what they
You're on drugs. You don't know what you saw.
It could be a place where there will literally be no one in the middle of the night, like a park or the biological preserve, like a part of the city where there literally should not be anybody.
Yeah.
And
condemned building.
The vampires know that there's not going to be anybody there, so it's okay. It's okay. I guess the GM could make that untrue, and you get screwed. But it is I'm making it as a PvP zone. Yeah,
that's cool. So then put something in there to make people have to go in there. But it's like, oh, we got to get in and get out before someone else shows up. Right?
Yeah.
An aid worker also asks, can you play this in medieval World of Darkness, or is it mostly for modern Vampire?
It is modern Vampire. You could adapt it if you wanted, but it would require a lot of work. Because there's not a lot of electronics stores or hospitals in, say, medieval Cordoba or Paris or whatever you choose to do. But you could. I'm a huge fan of Dark Ages Mage and Dark Ages Vampire, and I think they're great settings. I just, I was trying to keep the book tight and focused.
Yeah,
but you could definitely do it in another setting if you're willing to adapt the main thing you'd have to adapt is the locations and the way that people are, because people are going to be different. But angels and demons and fairies and werewolves are all going to operate the same in the medieval time as they are now. Yeah.
So I think you were on another show and someone brought up Blacklight, right? That Victor Gorchev is making, and like possible crossover potential. I don't.
Yeah, the idea would be if your apocalypse timer hits, you roll up new characters in Blacklight and now hunt down your old characters from Vampire.
Yeah. Or you could get you could have two going, like the apocalypse hits and like you are running one team of vampire. It's almost like hide and seek New York City.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. Like the vampires are trying to feed and move silently, and the Blacklight team is trying to hunt them down and find them. That could be a fun. That could be I don't know if that'd be like. That might not be a session BrawnSteen, but that might be like one of those ongoing play by post type, like a type 2 BrawnSteen. Might be fun. And man, I might have to get both of you back on the show if we could ever put something together awesome. Like that. You know what I mean? And just have fun with both systems. And yeah. So you've done created stuff for Axe. You've created stuff for ShadowDark. Have you created stuff for any other systems?
I've written my own system, which is an OSR system called Ambition and Avarice. There's the first and the second edition, and it has a lot in common with Axe 1. I'm a big fan of Axe 1, but the main difference is that I feel like the kind of people who would go out into the wilderness and go into these locations in a medieval setting, not talking vampire. So in a medieval setting, if you go out into the wilderness and do this stuff, you're probably not like the most goody two shoes person. You're probably a sketchy bastard. Yeah. And so all of the character classes are edgy people who don't fit into society. There's no paladin. There's no fighter. There's no cleric. You're the kind of person who got kicked out of town, probably. The class, like there's a brigand class and a savage class. There is a ranger. There's a shaman. There's a cultist that is one of the classes. So like all of them are just people that don't really fit. That's why they're the ones that went out there. And they have questionable abilities. Like the cultist, their main class ability is that if they take a bound captive and do a little religious ritual and sacrifice them, they can capture the blood in a potion bottle, and it becomes a healing potion for them.
Oh man!
Right. So this is not someone who's going to like fit in at Waterdeep. You know, like they're a different kind of person. So yeah, I think it's a great system. Hey, TV, what's going on?
Shout out to the basic expert. Can't stay but stopping by. Thanks for saying hi, man. It was so much fun having you on the show. And yeah.
So I think it's a great system. The OSR space is very competitive. You know, and when I wrote it, I was nowhere near as prominent as I am now, so I didn't have as wide of a reach. It is available for half price as an add-on to the Kickstarter. So for just $6, you can throw the PDF on, and check out my game. I played it with my crew for like 3-4 years, so I don't play it anymore because I tapped it out. You know, I'm trying new stuff.
All right, so you got your own system. Then you started writing for a couple others. Have you written for any others besides yours, Axe, and ShadowDark?
I wrote a $1 supplement thing for Alien because I felt like the first module, the centerpiece, the Keep on the Borderlands for Alien. They didn't explain how a lot of the things really worked to my level of detail. So like, for instance, when you come into the ship for the first time, there's a little like station where you can top off your air in your pressure suit, but they don't define how much air is in the reserve. Right? It would be a finite amount, especially for a ship that's like derelict at this point. Right? So you're like, how much air is really in here? How do these doors really close so that it's locked or not? And how do things? things that like the annoying player goes, well, how does this work? And you go, I don't know
like,
how this
I don't know.
door
The tech
works.
writer failed on this part.
Yeah. So I wrote this like $1 supplement for Alien where I was just like, this is how all these things work. And then I could just give it to my players and be like, I don't have to explain this crap to you anymore.
Because I feel like your supplements for ShadowDark are kicking butt. Like they are frequently like the top listed, like the GM companion and like the Shadow Sun and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, 3 of them
and
are
I feel
platinum.
Yeah, I feel like that game was. I mean, it's written to be easy to understand. It's written to, so like for writing for it, it probably isn't as much of a lift to grok the game in such a way that you can write on-brand supplements for ShadowDark. However, that is because of how wildly successful she's been. That is probably a very competitive space as well, right?
It's become a lot more so. I
well,
really
you were like on there from the get-go, so that probably helped.
benefited from being a first mover, and that has really the space has become kind of crowded, and I think going forward there has to be a really strong distinction. Between your product, you got to really bring your A game, and now that Shadow City's been finished for over 3-4 weeks now. And I've been putting all my time into my next product is going to be another setting for ShadowDark.
Okay.
And I'm taking extra time and commissioning specific art and doing things to make it so that the quality level of the product will really come up from even my own very recent releases. So but I do think you have to keep distinguishing that, because at the beginning it was like the Wild West with just open plains, and you could just grab whatever land you wanted. But it's getting a lot more crowded now, and I think Shadow City will be the last product I make that has the word shadow in the title, because there's so many
hard to find it.
There's so many books with shadow in the title now. It's like, okay, I got to do something else.
Benjamin says, I did suggest a collab between Victor and Black Lodge Games, Blacklight and Bloodmore, Bloodlight. It tastes great and it's less filling. So I would think that writing for Axe, you probably have much less competition because it is just such a chonkier system. I mean, I'm not saying it's complex. I feel like the root of Axe is pretty simple.
I agree.
But there's just so much extra to it. How well do you feel like you need to understand a system before you make something for that system that you feel comfortable selling?
Well, I mean, it's really not that high of a bar with Axe 2 to make like a dungeon. There's different levels. So like the more specific the product is, the more you need to calibrate it to the mechanics of the system. And in Axe, that could be, maybe a little bit harder than Old School Essentials or something, but not that much. The real thing that is daunting for me about Axe 2 is making new character classes. Because it's race as class, you'd have to build the whole race as a class as well. And there's a lot of moving parts in that. So,
and it's finely tuned, right? Like you don't want to accidentally make something that's going to get out competed easily or just stomp everything around it, right? Like
that's
you want
right.
it to be fun.
Designing the things that are for the, not in the dungeon, but like the mechanics of the setting or monsters for the setting. Like, so we compare ShadowDark and Axe 2. The ShadowDark monster, your description of the monster is like a sentence. And then there's a stat block, and then you just describe a few abilities and you're done. But to make an Axe 2 monster, you have to have an ecology, and it has to have monster parts that can be cut off and used in magic spells, and it has to have, like, you have to figure out how much it costs to train it into a servant if you get it as a kid, like all these different things, which is fantastic level of detail when you're playing it, but when you're designing it, it's a big load. It's a you know, if you compare a Hobgoblin entry in ShadowDark to the Hobgoblin entry in Acts 2, like holy crap, yeah, it's a lot of detail. And that's just a simple ass Hobgoblin, you know, like that's not a chimera or some kind of really powerful monster with lots of abilities. It gets really difficult. And I started down the road of converting Shadow Sun to Acts 2, and it was so complex that I started being like, I got to take a break from this, and then I would write more on the break for ShadowDark, and I'd just be like, I just don't know if I'll go back. And I love the game. It's just very difficult to get all those pieces in place.
Mm-hmm. So if somebody were like, man, I've just had a great idea kicking around in my head, and I've never done a Kickstarter or anything like that, what would be your advice to them? Because it seems to me, well, I'll hold my peace. I'll let you give your advice first, and I'll say what it seems to me has been like one of the keys to your success, and you can corroborate whether yes it has or whether I'm barking up the wrong tree.
My number one thing I tell people is start writing. It seems like such simple advice, but I know so many people that have told me, I have an idea for this, or I have this, and I have all these things that they can talk about, but they haven't actually written more than 1 or 2 pages down on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's one thing for you to have an idea for a house, right? But building the house is a lot harder than having the idea for the house. So that's kind of the thing. There's a lot of people who, from a corporate perspective, we use the term like blockers, like what's holding up this project? Well, Dunder Moose hasn't sent us an email with the information we need, so Dunder Moose is blocking this whole thing.
Oh, Dunder Moose bottleneck DM.
Exactly right. So the main blocker that I see people have in their role-playing game writing is that they're waiting for something that ends up never coming. Yeah, they're waiting for one day I'll learn how to use InDesign. So until I learn how to do InDesign, I'm not going to start writing this book, or I'm going to wait until I figure out this part of the game, even though I've already figured out that part of the game. Just start writing. Just write it down. The biggest advantage of random tables is that they turn an empty page into a page with one sentence on it. And that is what you need to do in your writing. Put that first sentence down. The first sentence will suck, but it will at least get you going. And
you're getting momentum.
Yeah, they get stuck in an analysis paralysis forever, and they're all in their head about whatever it is that they think they're going to write, and then they never write it.
Nice. So that's good advice. You got to write it. But there are people that find a way to write it. And yet, as you said, Kickstarter is littered with the detritus of, like, the pavement that the successful walk across is a finely ground white sand of the crushed dreams of people that put everything, bet the farm on one thing. And I feel like they immediately rushed out and put it on Kickstarter, and they didn't develop a following first.
Yep.
When I look at Kelsey, she started off with, at least this, I don't know deeply what all she's done, but from what I've been aware of, she started off with a free module on a DM's Guild. I always forget what it's called. It's at a lighthouse, and there's a water weird that attacks the boat, and forgive me for not remembering what it is, but it was a kick butt adventure. Like, it was, she wrote it, and it was good too. It wasn't just, a trunk novel, right? It wasn't just like her first effort. She had a different approach to gaming. So in addition to just the normal, interactions and stuff that she has in there, she tells you, here's how I move from one scene to the next. I look for this event to happen. I look for something to change the dramatic question. And once that's answered, that's enough for us to move to the next section. right?
Yep.
And so like not only did she have a cool, fun adventure, but she also had a specific approach to the game that she was willing to share. And I feel like a lot of people would have been like, this is my magnum opus. This is the best idea I've ever had. I need to sell this. And she was like, nope, I'm going to give you my best shot for free. And at the end of it, it's like, hey, if you like this, sign up for my mailing list and I'll give you another free adventure. Right? So her first attempt wasn't to get money, wasn't to sell product. It was to get attention and build a following. And then she had a bunch of DMs Guild, like horror one-shot stuff, like Halloween things that she did sell. And then like once she had established herself, when she went to trying to sell it, people could buy in because they knew she was an established quantity. They weren't taking a risk on a first-time writer. And I feel like for you, that's the same kind of thing. Maybe this is your first Kickstarter, but it's not your first time writing an entire thing, play testing it, making it good, and then getting it out there in people's hands. And so would you say that a lot of people probably do Kickstarter before they're ready? Like maybe their product is ready,
definitely,
but they're not a known quantity yet.
Yeah, there's also, I don't want to call out anyone specifically, but there is kind of a pattern of certain people, and I'm sure that people in the chat will suggest a few names. I'm just not going to.
We're not trying to get political. We're not trying to turn anybody off.
So there's a pattern of people who they in like a cloister, they write and write and write some massive thing that is coherent only to them.
Yeah.
Because they wrote it. And the organizational structure of it is very difficult to follow. It might have a lot of creative ideas in there, but it's difficult to see them because the organization of the document is bad and everything like that. Organizational design is one of Kelsey's like top tier talents that goes unrecognized by a lot of people because it's under the surface. But
when it works, it's invisible.
That's right. And then this person puts together their thing, and they've got 4 YouTube followers, and they've got 1 person who subscribed to their blog, and then they put the product on drive-through for unreasonably high price, and then they say, oh, why isn't anyone buying my game?
Yeah.
And
there's nothing wrong with only having 4 subscribers. Everybody starts somewhere.
True. Everybody is special.
Yeah, everybody starts somewhere. But I think the first thing is, if you look at it, try to be a Chubby Funster. Try to look at the long term and say, this isn't my only shot. This isn't my only thing. And maybe you did feel that way about your game when you were rolling that out. But like, I feel like you've got the perspective of I'm gonna be making something next, and I'm gonna be making something after that.
Yep.
And because I'm in competition, it needs to be getting better and better. And so I'm investing in myself and in my games, and so part of the game is it may have been an awesome first product, but if nobody knows about it, they can't support it. And and the competition is crazy fierce. And it's getting worse.
Yeah. And there's a lot of, I don't want to get into a whole discussion of AI, but there's a lot of people who are using AI to mass produce stuff that's slop. And so it drowns out the market. So people are leaning even harder into choosing stuff from a known quantity.
Yeah.
And they want to make sure that they know it's a real person doing a real thing. And that is a big deal. I put in the front of every book, including Shadow City, a thing that says that I don't use AI or LLMs for anything. And I have no intention to. I don't think that they're good. But if nobody knows you, they're not going to be willing to invest in your game. They need to know, like you said, they need to know who you are. And I published 6 or 7 free games that were just like OSR game designs that I came up with for different things. I had one somebody asked for it recently because they've come down over the years, and somebody asked for one called Statecraft that I wrote, where you were a leader of a European country in like a colonial period.
Oh, okay.
And your character sheet was like your country, and you were the person running this character, and it was clumsy. I was inexperienced. It's not. I would not be championing it as my best work. But somebody came to me and they were like, I heard somebody mention somewhere that you had written this game and I can't find it anywhere. And I was like, here's a free copy. And I just gave them the PDF.
Yeah.
But it's a skill. It's not just like, you might sit around and think about football all day.
Yeah.
But if you never play football, you will not be good at football. Like, you know,
that's right. I have read every book on doing push-ups there is. I'm an expert at push-ups. It's like, how many can you do?
4. One. You know, like, yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, that's a big problem in our industry. There's a lot of armchair generals. Would probably be the only concept I think that would fit right. Yeah, they think that they know more than they do, and actually trying to create something is its own journey.
Yeah.
That will, when you're done, you will have learned things. You know, I learned things all the time, not just from other people, but from my own work. Like, I can't make this work, and I struggle to, and then I finally figure out a solution, and I've gained some XP, so to speak.
Yeah,
that's an important part.
And it's a rough gig because the guy who's good at sitting in a room all by himself for hours at a time, pounding it out, getting the thing in his head onto the screen, may be totally undone by the idea of coming on a channel and talking about himself for 2 hours, or going to a con and shaking hands with a bunch of people and saying, here's why you should play my game. So it's like different parts of your personality have to be enacted at different times. You know, the creative bit needs to run free, and then you switch into editor mode and tear holes in it while still keeping up your passion for the project. And then you've been working your butt off. How many YouTube channels have you been on in the last couple of weeks?
You're the 7th one in the past week, and I've got another 5 or 6 set up, and there's people that I'm kind of loosely talking with about scheduling stuff near the end of the Kickstarter time frame. And I'm a introverted person. I can talk to people. I think the live stream format works well for me because even though there are a bunch of people in the chat, it's only like, it just feels a lot like me and you, right?
Yeah,
rather
just hang
than
out
being
one to
a whole
one.
bunch of people.
Just bros.
So that works for me, but it is exhausting to do that kind of stuff. And I can see how if you were less comfortable on camera than I am, if you were less comfortable talking about stuff, if you had trouble speaking contemporaneous, like just right off the top of your head, I said extemporaneously. I made my own warlord there.
Yeah, but it's happening tonight. Everybody's got
like, it's also a skill you can build up, you know, and the more confident you get, the better it goes.
Right on, man. So there's only a few people that are really good at this, and we gotta appreciate you when we meet you. I feel like my buddy Blackwall, DM Blackwall, is another one he's always working on something. They go to a bunch of cons. I got to go play at his place with a bunch of folk, and the guy just ran back to back. We did Horde Wars Advanced. Everyone broke. We had lunch, and we came back, and then we played Dropship, and then I had to leave, but he played Dropship again the next day on Sunday. And you got to love the game. You got to have confidence in yourself and know what you're talking about. And like you said, you'll still come across haters every now and then. And you got to be able to deal with that too.
Oh yeah, I have some fun strategies for dealing with haters.
Oh yeah,
I think other people could benefit from. I've tried to share these when it comes up, but there's been a few times when I've had to post on Twitter go viral a little bit in our community, and you start to get some hate comments. So in a lot of situations, as soon as I get the sense that the person's not coming at it in good faith, I stop responding. They're counting on you falling for the bait, right?
Yeah.
And so if somebody makes a comment that I can tell is just not in good faith, I just don't respond. Then you'll get comments that are aggressively belligerent, and there's a temptation for you to come back at that person with belligerence.
Yeah.
But the key insight is that they enjoy that. Right? So what I do is what they don't enjoy, which is give them a Chubby Funster marketing pitch. Right? So they'll say to me, this is a pile of hot garbage. And I'll reply, if you like heat, check out my desert setting, Shadow Sun. And then I drop the link. Right?
I love it.
And then they come back with something else, and I just hit them with another pitch. Now, what they don't realize, I don't think they realize this, is every time I do this, every person that's following them sees a Chubby Funster ad, basically.
That's right.
And so the more they argue with me,
you're hijacking their audience.
It's just I keep pinging their audience with Chubby Funster ads. So I don't look like an asshole. They look like the asshole. And you get your ads out there. So that is my recommended strategy. And realize that if you do something that makes somebody pissed off at you, that's a sign that you've done it. Usually it's a sign that you've done it right. Like, so
there's passion involved. It's not.
I made the post that I think you saw right before this, where I got my first hater on Facebook, and they were telling me about how my game sucked, and there were so many other better things I could have done, and blah 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 blah. So the way that I let that hit my ego is this person saw what I was doing and was so mad that they're unable to make stuff. They see somebody else do it, they're jealous or whatever it is. And that's why this anger is coming out. The anger, even if you really hate somebody, if they put something out there, you can rage against them. That's not going to change anything. It's not going to make the book disappear or anything.
Yeah.
So all they're doing is they're trying to make you feel bad. And the incentive is that they're mad about it for some reason. So I don't let that bother me. They're not mad at me.
Yeah.
There's some kind of problem that they're working on, and I don't let it hit me. I take it as like a mark of pride. If you're on, let's use different colors than our national politics. If there's two political parties, the oranges and the grays, whatever, and you post something and all of the oranges just flip out and come at you, like that's a good sign. Like you scored a hit, you hit their battleship, like that was a good shot. So that's how I interpret it. Like anything that they're coming at me with anger about, like I'm cool. That's a good sign.
And the crazy thing is usually the ones that get the maddest are the ones we have the most in common with, right?
There's the what is it? The something of small differences. Is it?
Yeah. I know what you mean. I don't know the words right now either. If you guys know in the chat, put it in the. And the other thing that's funny is I say that the fighting is so intense because the stakes are so low.
That's right. Yes. The idea that by me making a vampire game, that's somehow hurting you, like what delusion level do you need to believe that shit?
Yeah, I don't know if I've really had great haters yet. I feel like
they'll come eventually.
Oh, I'm sure they will. I feel like it's hard to be. Now, Alexander Williams, he says, personally, I'm just an angry, hateful person by nature, but cheerful about it. Yeah, and he's a guy that I went off on in one of my worst moments, and it wasn't his fault at all. I was in the middle of an audit at work, and I was stressed out, and Yeah, and I can't even remember what we were talking about, but I did a very unface-like thing, and I healed out on him, and it was I'm not good at it. I'm cringe and stuff like that, but he's still a good guy, and he was like, he went on to recommend, you know, a game that I could use for like a Power Rangers thing for my son and stuff. So he's cool about it. So I can't say that I'm always very magnanimous, but I do feel like by and large it's really hard. Um, He says, "Oh, I'm sure it was my fault. Let's not dissemble."
Yeah.
Right on, man. Bygones, bro. Bygones. But usually my thing going into it is like, well, they're probably right about something. Like if they just think I'm a worthless human being, like I don't know, there's just something about me that I can't agree with that per se. But maybe there's a red flag. There's something that either a way that I'm expressing myself or something that they're very knowledgeable about and I'm not, and it's coming across as irritating. Like my usual take is, well, I probably had that one coming, you know, and I feel like that in itself can be kind of disarming, right? Like if somebody wants you to get to their level and you're like, yeah, you got me. I don't think people are expecting that one, but I don't know if that works as well as your strategy of just be like, okay, you want to open the door? I'm going to step through it with a pitch. And
That's right. I'll just
maybe
tell
you
you about
hate
my
me, but
product.
like at least 3 people that were following you are now at least on the Kickstarter page checking it out for themselves, right?
Yeah. One of the things that I tell people about, like, I don't make political posts, is because there's almost no way that you're going to change the mind of the person that you're talking to. The best you can hope for is that everybody watching is going to go, oh, that, you know, you're clearly right, and then move the needle in that sense. But there's really not much of that even going on anymore. People being open-minded to the thing. So you're just kind of wasting your time fighting over something that you, as persuasive and nice as you are, you're never going to convince me that I like mushrooms, right? Like, it's not going to happen. Like,
I'm going to win you over.
Yeah, it's never gonna change. And there's a lot of our politics and our beliefs and the things that we like are driven by personality traits that we can't change. I might like variety of experiences, and you might like depth of a particular experience.
Yeah.
And so that's going to result in us making different choices. It's not a right or wrong thing, you know. Some people will never appreciate the brilliance of Ars Magica. You know, they just won't. There's nothing I can do.
It's not your job to make sure
Right.
that somebody doesn't enjoy the lesser form of entertainment that they've chosen for themselves.
That's right.
If
Yeah.
if they can be satisfied with non-BROSR play, let them have fun with that. They don't need to know how much better it is on the other. I'm just kidding.
Well,
I'm gonna win them over.
Bullseye asked
Driving in
about,
Nuggets is gonna become a bro. It's gonna happen.
Bullseye asked about table of contents. My table of contents are always hyperlinked, so they basically become a functional, very rapid index in that respect. Usually, I don't have books that are so specific about terms, I guess is the way I would say, that you would end up needing an index. Whereas, like, I've been running Gods of the Forbidden North with my Saturday night crew, and there are NPCs in that book. There are religious terms. There are locations and stuff that I think would be very useful for having an index to find. But generally, I don't think my books are organized or the content is made in such a way that you really would need an index to find what you're looking for.
Right on. Harmony Ginger showed up in the chat. Hey, guy. She's working on her Godstein. Godstein version 2 is. Have you finished it yet? No, I think it's still running. Maybe the sessions. But yeah, hopefully we'll get something from her one of these days that we can all run our own.
That would be great.
That'd be pretty sick. But yeah, man, holy cow. I've almost got you 2 hours. I thought, well, this will probably just be a short one. I've done a bunch of shows this week. He's done a bunch. We're probably both tired. But yeah, no, this has been fun. I can't believe how fast the time has passed. And
well, thanks for having me on. I really I said this to you privately, but I have no problem saying it publicly. I see what the BROSR is doing, and I find it to be interesting and admirable. Even though I'm not running my games that way, I don't. It doesn't fit my lifestyle, my schedule, the way that I just don't think it would work for me. But I can still see it and go, oh, that's really interesting. You know, like I love diplomacy. I saw the ARs after your diplomacy, the video.
Diplomacy by X,
that was very interesting to me because I knew, I know what it's like to be Austria and stuck in between all those enemies and trying to figure out what you're going to do. You know, that's cool, and I think it takes it up to a level of intensity and competition. I think it's good, and so I've seen a lot of kind of people arguing about one way being the best or whatever, and I don't think we have to decide on what is the most perfect way of doing D&D or doing RPGs in general. I think it's useful to come up with concepts like this is how you do a BrawnSteen, and say, can we run the same game this way or that way? There's a lot of people, for instance, that look down on solo play, but it works for some people. And I've had one of my settings, I added elements in to make it easier to do solo play. You know, it doesn't. We don't have to write products that only work one particular way. I think Shadow City would work well as a solo play as well. It'd be very interesting. You roll up all these neighborhoods and you'd be like, well, I don't even know what's in this neighborhood over here, so I'm gonna send my guy over there, and I make a few rolls, and I figured out that this guy is over there. Yeah, and then build it up as a solo experience. I think
solo play is great prep for running no prep.
It is helpful.
You get good at the tables. You get good at the hashtag book control, as they say. And man, I got a lot of chats here. Bradford Walker says that the bros are also standing up new clubhouses is a really big game changer. Harmony says, I've used a lot of methods from the bros and her games have gotten better thanks to them. Roland Stag says, I prefer to roll stag. And we knew that about you, bro. I'm going to win you over. And I'm going to win all of you over. And I'm going to win the haters over because I feel like there's just something magical about this play. Maybe right now it doesn't work for you. Maybe you just take one or two principles like Chubby Funster has done and said, you know what, I wasn't writing this for this, but holy cow, would this product work well in a BrawnSteen? And I think we're all secretly hoping that one of the bros will see this and maybe pick it up and run it. So VAMPSTEIN win. And I know you got a busy lifestyle, Chubby Funster, but like if somebody does grab the reins and run,
I would want to be observer at the very least.
Would you want to play? Would you want to be one of the players?
That's depends on my life. You know, I do have I have a job. I have all this stuff I'm doing, but I would definitely want to observe as much as I could if I couldn't play. I'm open to it.
I will say, so Alexander says, games that flow between solo and co-op play are a mixed mode that I suspect will increase in presence. But Renegade Production says, if anything, someone hears solo play an RPG, they probably think Skyrim. You want the solo play to be something that is either just for itself and just for you, or you want it to be something that enhances the campaign that you're in. The problem with mixing them is that sometimes the really good players can solo play themselves into a very powerful faction, and the ones that aren't playing at that level are going to get steamrolled, and it can be bad for the whole campaign.
Well, one of the things you were talking about, I can't remember which one it was, but earlier this week was about how the GM bandwidth, the cognitive bandwidth is a real problem. But we love you, Waylon. Anything that can bring that down, and I think that's one of the reasons why I forget who was saying like Acts 2, as good as it is, was not very good at this because of the amount of things that were in motion.
B-dubs.
Something like that. Yeah, B-dubs. And there are these different challenges with that. I think that's one of the reasons why like the AD&D chassis works well. It's very light, and you can just move it however you need it to be. You don't have a whole bunch of fixed rules like later edition Dungeons and Dragons. And I think that is useful. That it's interesting to see those things play out, because you can say, well, what tool would be useful in bringing that down? You know, how could we use random generation or random encounters or random result in this way that would take that off the GM's plate? They don't have to come up with an answer for that thing. And like
you want the ref to focus on the things that make the game better for the players. And if you're so in your head about all the different rules and you know who's got initiative, turn order, and all that kind of stuff, it can be easy to miss the magic, the moment when you can see on your players' faces that this is the thing that the game has become about for them tonight. Right? I think I've seen Harmony talk about this too. I can't remember which exact session she was talking about, but she was talking about how like once one thing came up, the players fixated on it so hard that she was like, okay, no, this is what we're going to be playing. No matter what I wanted to do, like clearly this is what the game is about tonight. And a GM that is capable of following player passion wherever it leads, they can offer an experience that no video game or movie or any other medium can offer. So rock on. Thanks for coming on. It's already after 2 hours. This was a fun show, man. You're fun to have on, and you're fun to talk to. And I hope your Kickstarter just crushes all kinds of records and does very well. And I hope that somebody does pick up the reins and tries to run a VAMPSTEIN using this system, rolling up the cities and that kind of stuff. And Chubby and I will play. He doesn't know it yet. He doesn't think he can do it, but I will find a way to win him over to even play this. So any last thoughts before we kiss goodbye and all of our adoring fans for the night and the evening?
Check it out. Let's do Vampire BRONSTEIN. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. Oh, and so this is not an affiliate link that I'm throwing in the chat, and it's also in the show notes, but it is going to let us know if you haven't yet pledged. And you pledge with this link, then we'll know, okay, this is part of Dunder Moose's audience. This is how we reached it. I don't know how many of those links you got or whatever, but if you want to help us with the experiment, if you were going to buy it anyway, there's no affiliate, there's no kickback. It's just this gives us a little bit of information as far as
join the Dunder faction.
The Dunder faction, yeah.
So Knowles asked when it releases. It's a 23-day campaign. And as soon as it closes and Kickstarter they have to send me like a list of everybody and the money, right? And then they hand that off to me. As soon as I get that, it's going to go out by email, so that you can fulfill it, print on demand by drive-through. You can just have the PDF, whatever you want to do. It'll be almost instantaneous.
Right on. Thank you guys so much for being with us tonight. I hope you have a great night. Hope you have some great gaming. And thanks, Chubby, for being willing to come on the show, bro. I know that you had a lot on your schedule, but this was a fun one.
Yep. See you guys.
See ya.